Alrighty, welcome back. I'm your man, Bad Chad, and Queen Jolene's on the camera as always, and we are on air. I have got both fender skirts on the car, and I'm very happy with them. This one here I ground off with a 24 grit, I think it is, flapper wheel. I'll probably end up showing you how I ground that off. But today is the days that I'm going to knock off the spot welds, and we're going to remove the fender skirt to see how it comes off and on. You know, sometimes, I don't know, sure if people watch the video and don't turn on the sound, I'm not sure. But there always seems to be that big question, how do you change the wheel, or how do you get the hood off, or how, you know, so basically we'll do it again. And the reason being is that if you don't know, we want to show you. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think 9 tacks of weld on the round stock that I tacked to the fender. I used the fender as a buck. And I want to hold the round rod in shape to where it's at. So when I pull the fender skirt off, the fender skirt fits the fender. I've used 18 gauge. I generally use 18 gauge on everything. And I did not weld it up solid. I got it welded, tacked it every inch and went around it. And then after I got it every inch, then I would do 1, 2, 3, 4, move 6 inches and 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I mean by 1, 2, 3, 4 is I'd put one weld down like that. I'd put my wire right there. And then I would do another weld like that. And then I would do another one like that. Put a weld there, wire there, and do another one like that. That way there you can see how it's ground off. There is no missing areas of weld because I've overlapped them like you would overlap, say, maybe quarters or dimes or nickels or whatever. But that's how I welded it on after I got it to every inch. So I'd have a spot, 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 and then I'd come back and get it in every inch, and then I would start doing that sort of stuff. Also, there was a comment on, why do I not use a wet rag to cool my weld down? Well, I use air because I think air works faster than water. And I do not use water because basically water is the beginning of starting it to rust. And it's also messy. And it's something that you have a wet rag hanging around. Like it's just a mess, really, to be honest with you, when I can use an air hose to do the exact same job. Also, when you're using the air hose and you're putting on that metal, you must know that you are shrinking the metal or the weld, you're shrinking it when you're cooling it off that fast with the air. If you do not believe me, take something, heat it up with the torch, or heat it up with a MIG welder or whatever, and then put your wet rag on it, and then try it with the air hose, which cools it off quicker. And you'll find out for yourself, and which one is less messy, which one does not cause rust. You know, it's kind of, that's why I do not use the water thing. I just kind of, that's old school. That's basically, I don't know, the person wasn't thinking about air. Air cools it off just as quick, or I think it cools it off quicker. So I did not air that at all. I just kind of went around with the spots like that. I did not warp it all up. I still have the bottom. I did not oil can it. What I mean, barrel. I still have the bottom to weld up, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to weld that up after I get it off. I'm going to turn it upside down, and then my heat will be not coming up this way. My heat will be going up this way when I turn the fender skirt upside down. Also, I got the fender skirt on there. I rolled it in the roller, and I rolled it just one way. The other way, for the shape of it, I depended on me pushing it on and getting that shape, and some of the round rod that was rounded this way holds the metal. The round rod going this way gives it shape this way. As Jolene comes up and takes a look, I'll hold the ruler flat on this edge of the fender skirt. If you go down to the other end of the fender skirt, you can see that it's not flat by probably 2 inches or whatever. It's not flat. As I hold this flat here, it's not flat. As I put it in the center, you can see I've got 1 inch in either end. It's not flat. So if I hold it flat at that end, you can see that we're nowhere near flat. So what I'm saying is, when it comes time to if I wanted to put any paint on that or do anything like that, there's no flat area that you're going to see anything. Basically what is going on, it's got a high spot, and the high spot is in the center. So you can see as I'm putting that ruler on there, you would never see anything wavy in that fender skirt. And the reason being is because it's got shape to it. It's high in the center. And that's exactly what I wanted. It's not tremendously high in the center, but it's high enough that you would never want to try to make it straight with anything, because it's not going to get straight. It's quite something else. So it has actually done a fantastic job of being round so we get good shape. Let's take the time and knock it off. That's why I'm saying that the fender skirt has turned out really nice. If you come back, let's come back. You want to go back there, sort of, Jolene, baby? If you go back there towards the Merc in the back, you can see, if she looks underneath here, where this is turned down like that, it looks much better than if you put it straight across to there. We would have lost probably half an inch in the center, but with that being high, coming down, when I turned that down a little bit, that makes that fender kind of roll nice and look good. Exactly the same as the other side. Let's go to the other side for a second. So we're going to knock it off here in a minute, and we're going to see if everything works out fine. So this is the one that I've got welded up. I did not grind it off. You can see also that we got the exact same thing going on this side. I'm going to grab the ruler. I used 18 gauge and I rolled it through the roller, and I did it within a matter of not much time. So if I hold it flat on this end, we've got another 2 inches down that end that we're good. So we've got a nice shape going on, so you would never see anything. We've got a high spot. If it was completely flat, then you would have a chance of seeing stuff, and it probably wouldn't look the greatest. So we've got the exact same thing going on there. Got a nice round shape going from that front of that fender back to this fender. How about let's knock one off? When I started doing the fender skirt, I noticed that I did not like the shape. Here's another thing. This is what I did yesterday after I got the fender skirt on. I went out with my little tickle trunk, and I got some pieces that I thought I might like to put on the fender skirt. I'm thinking this is off a hood side of a something. Somebody will tell me what it's off of. It's off of something, obviously, older. But I went to put it on the side of the fender skirt, and I said, wow, that's not going to work, because the fender skirt's round, that there is probably an inch or more off the edge of the fender skirt. But we could have done something with that. We probably still could if we wanted to, I suppose. But I only have one of those, so probably one wouldn't look the greatest. Then I went out and got these little things. I'm not sure what they're off of. They have a Canadian leaf in the center of them, the same Frontenac or something, probably off a Canadian car of some sort. But that wouldn't look bad. They're just something to put on the fender skirt to make them look like they're really a fender skirt that were made for the car, because these are, I'm not sure if you can get fender skirts like this to fit this car or not, but this is the fender skirt that I decided on. Also, when I made the fender skirt, I could have cut the fender and made a flush fender skirt for it. I just didn't know whether I wanted that. These are removable. These are going to be able to be taken off and on, whether I want to do flush fender skirts after, or if I want to make smaller ones or whatever. But I did not do anything to the car by making these. All I did is make a set of fender skirts that will fit the car. So that means that I can take them off if I don't like them. I can change it if I like them. But as soon as I cut into that fender and put a flush mounted fender skirt in, or do something like that, then I've committed myself to being there full time. And I wasn't ready to commit on any sort of fender skirt right at the present moment. So that's why we're at where we're at. I'm going to get this is the, what's this called? This is the moment where I'm going to cut them off. If you're just watching and you're not listening, it does not matter. But there's a tab under here. There's a bolt right there. There's a bolt right there. And I've got a bolt right here hanging underneath here. There's a tab that goes in there. It goes underneath the fender, and they drilled a hole in the bottom of the fender on both ends. So once I take off these snippets here of weld, I'm hoping that the fender skirt will pull down. I'm not sure how tight the hooks are. I got in there, I hooked it as good as I could on the fender lip of the car so it would stay there. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I'm hoping that it does the job. 18 gauge. You can make them any shape you want to. You could have whatever. You could have made them any shape you want. You could have made them smaller. Could have made them way up, just round. You could have made them any shape you want to. And that's just the shape that I desired, I guess, at the time, and that's why they are there. Jolene looks amazing today. I must say her camera work has been fantastic. Sometimes, like I said, you guys can see better than I can, and it's because of Jolene's camera work. Now, I'm going to knock off the ones on the ends. I'll leave the one in the center, and that way there, I'll leave the one in the center, then once I snip that with last, then it may fall down. Don't want to hit the fender, I just want to cut off the weld. Don't want to hit the fender. Or I don't want to hit the, I don't want to hit the fender. I'm going to see if I can get a screwdriver in there and knock that off. Then I'll just knock off the little pieces of weld with a flapper wheel, and we can stick a little blue paint back on that again. I'm going to try to go with patina on this car. Off, off, off. It's off. Really good sign. Not off. Not off. It's off. Oh, and company. off. If nothing else, the fender skirt's going to fit nice. There, it's off. Beautiful. There, beautiful. Not as beautiful as you though, Jolene. Off. So that's basically, I got one snippet of weld left there. So that's telling me that that fender skirt's going to fit fabulous. Good morning, Tim. Good morning. So I'm going to knock this off, and then I'm going to hold my leg against it because it might fall off. I don't think it will, but try it. Wide. All right, I have an issue right there. Obviously the hole is not drilled that big or big enough. Come on now. Don't know if I'm even hitting it. Ha! There we go. Just like that. There's the back side of the fender skirt. Not bad at all. We'll just clean that up with a little bit of weld. Put a little weld on them little places there. Everything's fitting tight and right on that. Very happy with it. We can weld down there a little bit. Clean it up just a little bit. I'll knock off them little pieces of weld. Didn't damage anything. That's the main thing. Didn't damage that. It's hard to believe, but we got pretty good meat considering this is ripped up here in the back. I probably should have pulled the fenders off and done a little bit of work to them because it needs a repair up there in the front. It needs a little repair going around here. And the fender skirt I started here because that was the flattest part. As soon as I started going around the corner there, I was into that rot. That's probably basically why I started there. I'm going to get a flapper wheel and knock off a little couple pieces of the weld. The fender skirt come off very easy, so you, if you're thinking about changing the wheel, you just knock off. I might even make a bolt or a nut stationary there, so when you push them up on, that stays there. You just turn your nut on and be done with it. Knock these off. Barely even touch the fender, so that's a good thing. Just don't want anything sharp on the fender to cut me. Aiden did a beautiful job tacking them on. No harm, no foul. Just rubbing over, see anything that catches the glove. Should be fine. Just gonna pop that out. Pop that one out. I'm just gonna stick the fender skirt up on again and see how hard it goes on and off. It obviously come off easy. It should go back on easy. So the hooks are going up inside the wheel lip, and it's 5-7 pounds maybe. I'm not sure how heavy I would say that is. So basically what I'm going to do is I would try to line this one up back here. I know I'm right about there somewhere. And then I would push the fender skirt up on. That's basically what I would do. And then I would nut it back up again. It fits good against the fender. It's not coming off once it's bolted on. Fantastic. I think that was complete success, I think. That goes up in there nice. Pretty basic to put it on, pretty easy actually. Top shelf, I heard, top shelf. Slide that up on there. There we go. Too easy. And we must realize it would not come off because you'd have to pull that hook through that fender, and it's in pretty good shape up there. So as I have this one here, I would turn it upside down. We can go the other way or whatever, probably go the other way. Turn that upside down. Don't matter. And I would weld that way there. When I come along, I had to cut all that off yesterday because it was too long in places. So I come along here today and I'll spot it every inch, and I'll do that every 4 thing along the bottom of it. You can see the curve in it. Basically that's what you want in something in a panel. You want that curve. I'm going to make a little bit of noise, and what I'm going to do, so I'm real happy with that. I'm really happy with that. And the reason being is it come off good and it goes back on good. I could put a little bit of a rubber on the fender skirt itself. You can see this fender skirt, how it fits on this side. It's nice and tight and right. And I'm thinking it stayed that way because I used the fender for the buck. Where I have the weld on like that, generally, most people want to start by grinding it that way to get that weld. And I'm saying I wouldn't want to start that way. I want to start that way. That way there, I can grind off the front. And then I can grind off the top. Then the weld will be left on where the fender skirt has been welded on to make it go right. I seen Ken is starting to grind his car off, the one we did at the Toronto Motorama. I want to give Ken a little bit of insight. On the back of his car, it had a body molding on the back. We slid the roof down inside, and the body molding come along here. We welded that right along that seam. For me to grind that seam with that welded on that seam, I would use a grinder disc or a cutting disc and a grinder, and I would lay my hand on the back of the car and just hit the weld and go back and forth like a little tiny bit and shape it. You would not try to hit this metal or this metal, but to get something down in that groove where that metal comes down and then you got to bump out and you got the weld in between it, I would just take my hand and rest it on the back of the car, and I'd use a zip cut, a small one. I wouldn't go with a big one, and the reason I wouldn't go with the big one because you have more chance of it flying off. If you have a small zip cut that's been wore down, then I would just put my hand on the back of the car, and I would just grind that weld all the way around without hitting that metal or that metal. Just a piece of advice. I seen he had some carbide bits there. Them things chew quite heavy. What I mean by carbide bits, I think everybody knows, is these bad boys here. If you get that down in that groove, you were going to chew that, and you were going to chew that, and you're not going to be happy. In my personal, what can I say, experiences, that zip cut to do them fine lines like that is the way to go. All right, now I'm going to knock this off. Do you want a pair of earmuffs, sweetheart? Okay, Jolene's got some. I'm going to knock this off. Should take a minute or two. Turn the TV down, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to grind it, and then I'm going to knock it off. I'm going to get another disc in case that one wears out. And this is the disc, 36, written on the back. Lower the number, sharper it is. So it's a 36. And knock that weld off all the way around. Still didn't plug it in. It won't grind without it plugged in. It's a beautiful day here in Nova Scotia. It's a beautiful day. Nice and mild. Won't be long and the snow will be gone for good and we'll be outside. Woo! You can see as I'm grinding that weld is still on that edge. So basically I'm just grinding it off flush with the metal on this side and then I will do that edge. We're using 18 gauge metal. I'm not worried about grinding off a little bit of metal. I'm using 18. Come on. Now I'm going to take off the top part. And I'm going to try to hold that flat with the top of the ramrod without hitting the fender. Got lots of round rod there, it's 5/16, so it should be able to grind on that. I'd rather grind it when it's on the car than laying on the floor. It's just too much hassle trying to hold something when the car is holding it for me. See all the welds still on the corner of the fender skirt, so I can play with that after. Trying not to hit the fender. Touched it in a couple places, not bad. Now, I would say that most of the weld is left on from the corner going this way, round rod going around this way. Most of that weld you can see is left on there because it still has little areas where it's not been ground off. So the weld's still holding it good. I'm going to take the zip cut, knock it off. I'm going to take out the bolts first because I had an issue last time. Oh, that one's got a nut in it. That's why it wouldn't come off. It's nice to I'm going to take it off without it stuck in there. Alrighty. Let's cut this bad boy off. Excuse me, sweetheart. And then we can finish the fender skirt. So I'll leave the one on the center up here. I'll cut these ones off first. Yeah. That one got a little pressure on it. Off now. Good. Did that one break? That one broke. Sucker's gonna fall off on me is what's gonna happen. Nope, not gonna allow it. I've got one more. There's the other fender skirt. Let's knock off the welds. Just want to put that fender skirt back on. I actually want to knock off the edge of the welds on this side. You can see there's been a little bit of damage on this fender and on the other fender. I maybe should have. Here we go. We've got a fender skirt. It looks good. I'm thinking that, yeah, it looks good. Awesome. Also, you know, once this one here has about probably an 1/8. Let's put this back on. Just show you. Has about an 1/8 going on there, like a little bit of a gap. The other one was quite. Actually, it matters how it's bolted on. Actually. So yeah. Looks good. So if there's any issues with a gap or anything like that, I can take. Most generally, fender skirts have a little rubber that's going up around there, and all it would do is tighten the fender skirt up on the lip and go against the fender. Instead of having metal against metal on the fender skirt, I probably would shove a little piece of rubber in there. We touched it. It's no worse than what it was before, but now we have a fender skirt or 2 fender skirts made for it. And what I'll do is I'll turn this one upside down. I'll weld that fender skirt up like that. Go on that one. Tack, 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 tack. Tack, 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 tack. And then I'll just go back and do the exact same thing until I get that inch thing going on. And then I'll go back to the, right there, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll continue to weld it up and then put them back on. Then I can call the fender skirts complete. There's some welding on the back sides I have to do them yet. And I am happy with them. There's been we asked the conversation, we showed that we might make it into a 2-door sedan. And I agree with the consensus. leave it a 4-door is what I'm thinking. Have not got a 4-door that's chopped. We're gonna leave it a 4-door. But probably the next step will be, you come back tomorrow and we'll see. That's if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to, obviously, but I would hope that you would come back tomorrow. I'm thinking that we'll either do lowering blocks or we're gonna do, what are the, side mount for a tire. I'm just thinking that the side mounts make the old car or these era cars look really more expensive, I guess. If you had a side mount in your car, I'm thinking that you probably paid a little more money for that car because it had a place for 2 wheels. We want one on this side and one on that side, so we're going to make some side mounts for this car, and we're going to lower it. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do tomorrow, but we're going to do one or the other. And I'm thinking that the fender skirts will be done, and we'll go on to something else. Thanks everybody for coming back. I appreciate it. The fender skirts have turned out 99%. All I have to do is finish them now, and then we'll go from there. Oh, not 99, 100, 100%. So you heard it from the boss. Alrighty, thanks everybody for coming back. We appreciate it. If you like, throw a comment in. If you don't like, throw a shitty comment in. Subscribe and come back tomorrow. See you later.